Oh, I see Lily Green is in the participants. I'm going to promote her to a panelist. I've also promoted Peggy.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Peggy.
Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Just so everyone, all the public attendees are aware, we are -1 chair who is planning on being at the meeting tonight. So we'll get through a few minutes and then we'll get the meeting started. Hello, Joyce.
Hello. Hi, Ruby. Haven't seen you in a while. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
All right, Joyce. Well, I think everyone's here. So when you are ready, we can begin.
Okay, I certainly will. Let's see. It being 6:33 on November 15th, the meeting of this meeting of the Brockton Conservation Commission is called to order. The meeting is being conducted remotely in accordance with Governor Healy's open meeting changes updated in March of 2023, which extended certain COVID-19 provisions until March 31st, 2025. Real-time public participation and comment can be addressed to the Conservation Commission utilizing the Zoom virtual meeting software. If you wish to comment during a public input portion of the hearing, please use the raise your hand function to be addressed at the appropriate time. For those of you joining by phone only, please press *9 to raise your hand. All comments made are a matter of public record and should be conducted in a way that is respectful of others. Should personal or inflammatory remarks be made during the meeting, the host reserves the right to mute the speaker. A copy of this recording will be on the city's webpage. All votes taken during this meeting will be done by a roll call vote to ensure count accuracy. Commissioners, please state your first and last name for the record in order that we might determine quorum.
Laura Beekler here.
Ruby Clay here.
Peggy Curtis here.
Lily Green here.
Sharifa Mapp here.
And Joyce Forrest here, and quorum is established. Thank you. Okay. So the first item on the agenda are meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review the meeting minutes from October 18th?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
As you and I discussed earlier, we did put together a separate minutes for the October 4th meeting. It is uploaded to the drive. It's 2 sentences long. I can read it to everyone to approve that now.
Okay, I was going to do that right after this, but if you'd like to do that now,
that's fine. Whatever order you want to do them in, but I just wanted to make you aware that both the October 4th and 18th both have separate minutes that need to be approved. Thank you.
Okay, I was just going to do this one since everyone had it, and yeah, okay. So if you could have I'd entertain a vote, please, as far as the minutes. Are there any questions or comments or anything concerning the minutes? Or that would be for October 18th.
Make a
If not-
motion to accept the minutes from October 18th.
Thank you, Laura. Motion's been
I
made.
second the motion.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Equal I.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Map, I.
And Voris, aye. Those minutes have been accepted. Within that agenda, as Kyle was stating, as you might remember, on October 4th, there was an original meeting scheduled, which actually had to be delayed and postponed until that special meeting on October 18th. Those minutes simply state the meeting was canceled due to technical difficulties with the Zoom webinar software. This meeting was rescheduled till October 18th, 2023. Does anyone have questions on that?
Madam Chair, I'm not sure what we've changed it since then. The
have
current
you?
version that's actively up now on the drive. Do you mind if I read that?
Not at all, please. I thought I had received the correct one. Thank you.
Well, yeah, you probably printed it off before we made the change about 2 hours ago. So
Oh, okay.
So the current version reads, the meeting was canceled due to technical difficulties with the Zoom webinar software. Agenda items planned to be discussed at the October 4th, 2023 meeting were heard at the October 18th, 2023 special meeting of the Brockton Conservation Commission.
That sounds much better. Thank you. Okay. So members of the commission, any questions at all on those minutes? No. I entertain a motion then to accept the minutes from that very short October 4th meeting.
Make a motion to accept the minutes from October 4th, 2023.
I second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Equal I.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Map, I.
And Voris, aye. Thank you very much. So the meetings are all, the minutes are all accepted. Thank you. Okay. So that's good. Okay. The next real item on the agenda would be a certificate of compliance for 728 North Carey Street. There also is a certificate of compliance for 744 North Carey Street. They're both closely interconnected. Is someone from J. Holmgren going to be speaking on the issue?
Yeah, I believe Scott's got his hand raised. I'll promote him, and then Jim Morrissey, I believe, also is as an attendee. So I'm going to promote Scott to panelist. I'm going to go ahead and promote James Morrissey as well.
Okay. Certainly we'll need two separate votes, but I think the information is similar for both.
Yes, that's correct. Scott, your volume, your mic volume is very low.
How would I fix that, Kyle?
You speak louder, just like that, Scott. Perfect.
All right, perfect. That's easier than fixing the mic. All right, thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair. Good evening, Commission members. Scott Farrier from Holmgren Engineering. Here with Jim Morrissey. Jim is the developer of the two lots. Right now, we're speaking of 728. As you mentioned, Madam Chair, the one immediately following was 744 North Carey Street. Two new homes that were permitted back in 2019 by the Conservation Commission. We received two orders of conditions. Work proceeded on both lots, was completed, and we filed for certificate of compliances in August 2020. The houses were complete, the site work was complete. At that time, it was found by the previous conservation agent that some trees had been removed within the buffer zone, and also that there was a lot of Japanese knotweed that had sprouted up and that she would like taken care of. So at the time, we received a partial certificate of compliance that allowed Mr. Morrissey to close on the two houses. And as part of that partial certificate of compliance, we entered into an agreement with ERC, Brad Holmes from ERC, to both monitor the removal of the Japanese knotweed and also to come up with a buffer zone enhancement plan to put in some plantings to mitigate and offset whatever was lost in those resource areas during construction. The main point of that monitoring was the condition that we wait 3 years just to make sure that all the plants that we replaced, just to make sure that they held. Again, that was about August of 2020, now being November of 2023. We're past the 3-year window. The whole time Brad Holmes has been involved in the project, has monitored the plantings. We submitted his letter along with our certificate of compliance request. At this point, we feel like everything is complete and is up to date and in good standing with your partial certificate that was issued back then in 2020. The other major issue, Madam Chair, just to kind of let everybody know how it goes, the order of conditions needs to be cleared from the title in order to have a closing when you're buying a house. In this case, as I said, we couldn't get a certificate of compliance because of those plantings and the monitoring. So a partial certificate is typically accepted by most attorneys when a closing comes into effect. The commission's issue, in any commission's issue with a partial certificate, at that point, you're basically letting the developer off the hook. He now sells the house. You as the homeowner, you're now on the hook for whatever conditions that he was left to resolve. So that's always been a sticking point, not only in Brockton, but in every conservation commission. So Brockton came up with the idea that we put up a bond, that we place a bond, a cash bond, that would be held until Mr. Morrissey completed the work and in fact requested that final certificate of compliance. So that cash bond would kind of hold his feet to the fire and make sure that he would do it. Not that he wouldn't do it anyways. He's a wonderful, upstanding guy. But that's the issue that we have with conservation commissions and developers throughout the Commonwealth. So that was taken care of. So that's a long history, Madam Chair, on the project dating back 4 years now. So as I said, at this point, I think everything's been done. Your agent had visited the site a week ago and had a couple of things that he wanted done. He wanted the permanent markers put in place that are now accepted by conservation. Previously, 4 years ago, those metal markers really weren't being used. So Mr. Morrissey put in pressure treated posts and got some fancy signs made up that said limit of work, no clearing. We got rid of those and added the conservation markers that you folks are currently requiring on sites. Mr. Morrissey just finished putting those in either yesterday or today. So that's been taken care of. And one other item that Kyle came up with was the removal of the silt sock that's typically placed at the limit of work. And to be honest, in most cases, we usually leave the silt sock in place and just let it naturally just kind of go away and blend in with the environment. And it also just, for the time that it takes to blend in, it kind of acts as a barrier just to make sure that people realize there's a wetland on the other side. Kyle still suggested that we at least look into removing the silt sock. When Mr. Morrissey attempted to do it, the silt sock itself is, as you guys know, is full of mulch basically. And the netting that holds it in, when we tried to remove it, the grass underneath had kind of woven itself into the fabric of the silt sock. So in order to actually remove the silt sock, Mr. Morrissey was ripping up all of the ground around it and all of the vegetation that they've been working so hard to maintain and to get to flourish in that area. So at that point, Mr. Morrissey reached out to the environmental company who in fact placed the silt sock on the property. And they said that the silt sock is photodegradable, meaning that it breaks down with the sunlight. So it takes a little bit longer than the old fashioned biodegradable silt sock. It's being used a lot more now, just from a conservation point of view, it lasts longer. And you guys kind of get a guarantee that it's going to remain in place and not deteriorate during construction. So their feeling is that you're better off just slitting the top of the silt sock and just allowing nature to take its course, and it will in fact photo degrade over a certain period of time. So that's where we stand with Kyle's issue on that, Madam Chair.
Mr. Morrissey, do you have anything to add as being part of the applicant's report?
Yes, I can update. I met with Kyle today. Showed him that the stakes, the old signs had been removed. The new markers had been installed, and by adding a second set of hands, we were able to carefully remove the entirety of the fabric. So the fabric is now removed, and the mulch that remained in place is exactly where it was, where the silt sock was.
So you did remove the actual fabric of the
We
silt.
got the fabric out. When one guy tried it, it was very deeply rooted and entangled, but by adding a second set of hands and just kind of working it, we were able to remove the fabric in its entirety.
Is that, do you know what the fabric is? Is it like a nylon?
Say that again?
A nylon? Do you know what the fabric is?
I would suppose it's a nylon. In speaking with Meadowbrook Erosion Controls, they indicated that the product, as Scott said, was photo degradable, and it's intended to degrade slower so as to maintain its purpose in separating a work area from an area that's being preserved. The mulch was fairly intact in it, and like I said, by adding a second set of hands, we were able to delicately remove it in its entirety without any disruption.
Which would mean then both conditions that were required then would be met. Kyle, do you have anything that you might like to add from your agent report?
Nothing to add, but yes, I did meet on site with Jim today. Everything looked good. The silt sock had been removed as requested. So going to my agent report, my suggestion here for the commission would be to recommend the commission vote to issue a complete certificate of compliance for both 728 and 744 North Cary, but obviously those will have to be two separate motions and votes.
Commissioners, any questions at all? I did see in photos that there were like little wooden sticks, I guess that probably held the silt socks down. Are those actually still there, or?
Those have been removed.
Thank you.
Everything that Kyle's requested be removed has been removed. So the stakes that held the sock, the fabric, the signs that I had originally placed have been removed in their entirety, and the permanent markers have been installed. And we located all 15 of them during our on-site visit.
Good. Thank you for your attention to detail.
Thank you.
Commissioners? If there's no discussion, I entertain a motion then to issue a complete certificate of compliance first for 728 North Cary Street.
I make a motion to issue a complete certificate of compliance for 728 North Cary Street.
I second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Equal I.
Clay eye.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Map I.
And Boris, aye. Thank you. And I entertain a second motion, please, for 744 North Cary Street.
Make a motion to issue a complete certificate of compliance at 744 North Cary Street.
I second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Equal I.
Clay eye.
Will,
Green eye.
Map I.
and Boris, aye. And the motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very
folks.
much. Have a good
Have a
evening.
night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I guess I just have one more comment, Madam Chair, before we move on. concerning the bond that Mr. Faria spoke of. So just let everyone know that the process here afterwards, after we issue this certificate, the complete certificates of compliance for both of these properties, I will write a letter to the planning board, and they're the ones that are going to be releasing the money. They were the ones that initially requested that the treasurer put that money away. So they are the only body that can release that. So their next meeting is on December 5th. So at that meeting, they will make a vote to release that bond, and then that money can be returned to the applicant.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Good. Good. I was amiss in, I forgot to mention at the very beginning of the meeting, which cases have been continued to the next meeting. So in case there are any people that are here as public, I'd like to just mention those very quickly. The following cases have been continued to the next meeting. Number 11, 549 Copeland Street. Number 12, 10 Peckham. Number 13, 166 East Ashland. Number 14, 339 Quincy. And number 15, 511 Thatcher. So those have all been continued to the December 13th meeting. And also, I believe it was item number 9, it was a notice of intent on Churchill Avenue. That will not be heard this evening because of an issue with clerical error and the legal posting. Thank you.
And Madam Chair, I have one last minute addition to that list.
Sure.
So the RDA application for 940 Belmont Street, they have withdrawn that. So they are planning to put a notice of intent in the spring, and they're just going to bundle the delineation that they were pursuing with the RDA in with the notice of intent in the springtime.
Oh, good. So that's resource here.
That's number 8. Yeah, 940 Belmont Street.
That will be in the springtime.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I'll just make a note of that. Thank you. Well, it makes our meeting a little shorter.
It really does.
Thank you. Okay. The next item on the agenda is an ANRAD for 0 Toby Road. Do you have anyone here for that?
Yes, Evan Watson, I'm going to promote you. If there's anyone else from in the attendees panel that needs to speak, please raise your hand.
Good evening.
Hi, Evan.
Anybody hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, very good.
Hello. This is W Engineering, Elson Watson.
Yes, it is. How did you guess?
Before we begin, I'd like to confirm that there is a DEP file number and abutters have been notified. Is that correct, Kyle?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Wilson, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. It's Evan Watson, W Engineering, representing the applicant's CLM development. If you'd like, I could share my screen and I can put the plan up on the screen.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Let's see, can we see the plan? Okay.
Yes, it's up now.
Okay, great. So this is shown as 0 Toby Road. It's actually a piece of property to the east of North Quincy Street. This section of Toby Road is a paper street, is not developed. It's essentially a paper road right now. The locus comprised of 2 parcels, one to the west of Toby Road and one to the east here. Ken Thompson was the wetland scientist that delineated the property, and he had a comprehensive report attached with our application. So he reviewed this section here. I'm displaying the LiDAR topography at 2-foot contours. So you can see we're relatively high on this side, and all the topography flows this way. In the middle of our site, more or less in the middle, there is a existing utility easement. And then there is a wetland here in the valley. I also think that there is a sewer easement that runs within this as well to the city of Brockton. All the way, and then we basically come up a little bit to a ridge here, and then it comes back down. He delineated a top of bank here. There is a river shown on the USGS, so that was delineated. I will make the comment that I think I did not correctly indicate the riverfront here. I did put a 200 riverfront, which I believe in the city of Brockton, it's just a 50-foot riverfront, so I'll have to change that on the plan. So there's a little wetland here that flows this way. Again, it's all towards the back of the property. And then lastly, we have the D line. And there is a low-lying spot here. And there's been some work, it must have been when these home sites were built, that has a little ditch that directs it into the utility easement area where it essentially disappears or infiltrates into the ground. So we did get a DEP file number. DEP's comments mentioned that if there is a ditch within this, it would constitute a intermittent stream. So we are not, we're agreeing with that. We're not classifying this as an isolated wetland. If it borders on the ditch, then it's a BVW. So we did show a 100-foot buffer zone there. On the plan, we show the soil types, we show the 100-foot buffer zones, 50 and 25 foot as required by your application requirements. And I think Kyle had a few comments. I'll let him speak to his comments, but as far as I understand, it was just to demonstrate that we've in fact notified abutters. So I forwarded you that information yesterday, and that he was recommending that Beta be contacted to review the delineation.
Mm-hmm. And you're agreeable to that, Mr. Watson?
Yes, my only comment to that is if they are going to go out on the site, the applicant asked me if our wetland scientists could be present during the time of their site walk so that we could get all eyes out on there and be transparent, and then we can get everything adjusted if there needs to be any adjustments right there on one field site visit.
Mm-hmm. Sounds fair to me. Thank you. Kyle, do you have any additions or suggestions, recommendations?
Yeah, just one quick thing. Evan, Brockton has a 25-foot riverfront area, so instead of the 50, so just make that note, and you can make that adjustment. Not a big deal, but just wanted to let you know. And as Mr. Watson said, yes, I'm recommending that the commission, request that Beta come out here and confirm the delineation for this project.
Which therefore would just recommend, we'd have to recommend a continuance to next month, or how?
Yeah, yep. So we probably would want to vote on having Beta do this delineation, and then we would just continue to the next meeting. Yep.
Commissioners, any questions at all?
I have a question.
Please do.
What is the proposed use for the land?
Right now, there's no proposed use. We're delineating the wetlands, and then once we get that established, then he was going to look into what types of uses could be used. So at this point in time, there is no proposed use.
Yeah, and that's how, like, this is an ANRAD filing, and so with an ANRAD, it's singularly just looking at the wetland lines, and we're just confirming the resource areas. That's all of this filing type ever involves. So after they get these lines confirmed and the commission is comfortable with Beta's comments, then the applicant can take that plan. It's valid for 3 years, and then they can develop some sort of development there, and then that would have to come back before the commission to be approved. Any actual development would have to be approved through a notice of intent filing.
But Peggy, I do believe that many times developers have an idea.
Mm.
I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure they do, but they're not required to make that part of this filing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other commission questions? Comments? I just wish I could see like it's difficult to see the lines, you know, that the actual values that are on the lines of the, what is it called? The topographical lines. It's hard to see what, hard to
Yeah,
see what
Yep, I
the
can, sure, I
slopes,
can
everything.
talk to it a little bit. I'll zoom in.
Yeah,
So,
that'd
yeah, up at the top, up by North Quincy Street, we're at a highest elevation of 206.
right.
It's a little bit above the road, which is around 200.
Yep.
When we get to the other parcel, we step down to about 188.
Oh.
Then we come down, when we get into this wetland, we're approximately 166 or so.
Yeah. Once.
Comes back up to another ridge at 172.
Mhm.
Then down into this valley, we're at 150. Again, back up to about 160 at this ridge here.
Mhm.
And then when it comes down all the way in the back, we're about 132. So from the front to the back, there's over 70 feet of relief across the whole thing.
And also, do you know what the identity is of the river?
This river is an unnamed tributary to, it's in the report that Ken put together. Oh, it's Beaver. It eventually becomes the Beaver something or other brook. I'm sorry, I don't know
Yeah,
what's
I think
over
it's
there.
just the Beaver Brook, yeah.
Okay,
Good. Thank you.
you're welcome. But this is not the Beaver Brook. This is just a channel that runs through the wetlands that eventually goes to the Beaver Brook. Yeah.
Okay. It's
Yeah,
clear.
so if you need a request, you know, if you guys are looking to have Beta go out there, hopefully with Mr. Thompson, I'd request a continuance to the next hearing with a date assured.
Commissioners, entertain a vote I entertain a motion rather to continue this to the next meeting with the request that Mr. Thompson and Beta both are able to do the sidewalk together. Is that, I'm not sure exactly how to word that, or,
Yes, that's right.
okay,
I make a motion to continue 0 Toby Road to the next meeting on, what's the next meeting's date? Hold on.
December 13th.
December 13th, 2023. So that the site can be reviewed by what was just suggested, by those who were just suggested.
I second the motion.
so the motion's been made and seconded to continue 0 Toby Road after a meeting with Beta till the next meeting on October 13th. Roll call.
Excuse me, Madam Chairman, was there any public input? Do we need to?
Oh, I'm sorry. Of course, with an ANRAD must, of course.
Yeah, sorry, don't want to blow it.
Absolutely. Is there anyone here in attendance?
I see one hand raised, Jack Lally. I will be promoting Jack.
Mr. Watson, I'm sorry.
And another one. Here we go.
Mr. Dubois?
Yeah, I've promoted both.
Okay, Mr. Lally, I believe you had your hand up first.
I'll take it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Hi.
Hi. Commissioners, thank you for having me. I just wanted to, highlight some of the, the sentiments of the abutters, of the constituents. So I'm Jack Lally. I'm the Ward 6 City Councilor. I represent the area. I, of course, am joined by State Representative Michelle Dubois, my colleague and counterpart in the State House. There's just, and I wanted to just start off by saying the way this, was rolled out, there were a lot of questions. There was a lot of confusion. I've got at least one a butter, I can offline talk to you, Madam Chair, or you, Mr. Holden, that did not receive notification. And the notification that was received, I don't know if it meets the standards for the commission. It was a little vague, and it didn't really represent too much. The other thing just is the confusion. So I understand from Mr. Watson that there is no project in place. And I do appreciate the way that that was explained and laid out. But still the entire process left quite a bit of confusion, a little bit of stress. It was up in the air for folks, and we spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out what was happening, what was going on with it. I think that this is an ANRAD is pretty straightforward. I don't really know if there's any grounds to interrupt that, so I'm not going to make that kind of suggestion. But I do request that going forward, anything that comes up for conversation, I would place a high premium on properly including and notifying the neighborhood so as not to cause the level of stress that has been put on the folks nearby. But I appreciate that, and I will hand the floor through you, Madam Chair, to my counterpart in the State House. But thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Lally. So if I hear you properly, there was some confusion about this particular ANRAD, and anything going forward, when there is some plan in place and an NOI is put forward, I would expect that it would be much clearer in the notification, correct? That's what you would prefer, that there would be a clear understanding that would go to the abutters regarding what was going to be happening.
I will reach out offline separately about to the owner of the property, or to you, Mr. Watson, if you'd prefer, about some kind of hopefully setting something up if something goes forward for the neighborhood, which I think usually makes things easier. But I do appreciate the commission's time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Awesome. Mr. Bois, hello. Mr. Bois? Hello?
Madam Chair?
There, yes.
Sorry, I just received a text from Representative Dubois. She is not quite confident that her Zoom is going to work. She's in the State House. They're having some voting, and they're probably going late into the night. Her request was also greater explanation of what is intended to be done with the property. I will speak with the representative once she's available and out of the State House, and fill her in as to the happenings of this meeting. But she does express the sentiment that I already laid out.
Okay, thank you very much. Yep. And just to be clear, an ANRAD is simply a fact-finding mission, I think, to determine what exactly could be done with that property, I believe, potentially. Okay, so I believe we were ready to entertain a motion. Is that correct? Or unless any commissioners, if you have any other questions or anything as a result of the public input? If not, I'll entertain a vote then to continue. Did we do the vote to continue?
No, we were midway through the
Continue
vote.
motion.
Okay. The motion was made. Was it seconded?
It was seconded, yes.
I'm sorry. So now we just need to have a roll call vote. Thank you.
Pecora,
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Map I.
Boris, aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. See you,
Welcome.
the 13th, you said?
Right, Right, it's a week before we normally would meet, but because of the holidays.
Very good.
Thank
Good night.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Lally. Next item on the agenda is an RDA. And that is a request for determination of applicability for 51 Parkview Lane. A project is the tree removal. Is anyone here to speak to that as an applicant?
Yeah, I've promoted the homeowner, Lauren.
Is anyone else present as well?
No, it's just me.
Okay. Hi, Ms. Ward, how are you?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
Hi, thank you. If you could give us a little summary, that would be lovely.
Sure. So, the reason that I'm here tonight is we have a few trees that are just beyond our property line, but abutting some conservation land. I'm sorry, some wetlands. So we're just looking, we had filed the RDA to see if it was reasonable for us to have those taken down. We had them looked at by a tree company, Walnut Tree Service, just kind of asking what their recommendation would be, because we had a lot of trees throughout storms throughout the years fall down in that area. One particularly on our neighbor's fence. Others luckily kind of fell the other direction, but some were uprooted. So it just kind of made us nervous. There's a few large ones that in particular.
You're freezing. Sorry. Ms. Duarte, I can't hear you. Ms. Duarte?
No.
Now I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what's going on. Can you hear me now?
It's breaking up, but I can hear you right this moment.
Okay. What's the last thing that you heard me say?
Property. Neighbors fence.
Yeah. Also, I'm sorry. I'll make it quick. I know everybody it's getting late for everybody, but basically we have these 3 trees that are large. They're close to our property line. They're not actually on our property line, but we do have permission from the landowner to take them down if it's okay with the Conservation Commission. So we did receive a letter from Walnut Tree Services, the CEO, that he was the one that kind of looked at the property and had made the recommendations of the few trees that were the most dangerous, or the ones that were most likely to cause problems for us, and recommended that those come down. So those were I'm not sure if you had heard, it was a white oak, a hickory tree, and a white pine tree. So that's what I'm here for today.
Okay, thank you. Kyle?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Lauren. I've got some photos that I can share real quick, just so the commission kind of see what we're talking about here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So I went out, well, I've been out to the site a couple times, but most recently was on the 9th last week. So the 3 trees in question, are you guys able to see this photo?
Mhm.
So this is from the, as Lauren said, the property in question, 51 Parkview, is this house in the middle of the frame. So I'm in the land, the parcel behind that. I think it's to the south. And this is owned by Risk Takers LLC, this parcel. And as Lauren said, they do have permission from the owner of this property to do whatever tree removal is permitted by the commission. So they have approval to do kind of whatever whatever we deem appropriate. The 3 trees in question, I went out there and I kind of flagged them with this orange tape. So the one over to the left side of the frame is the white pine. The one in the middle of the frame closest to the camera is the oak, the white oak, and then the one all the way to the right is the hickory. I'm going to move to another photo. So these are the same 3 trees, and they are all relatively large. So where I'm looking, basically I'm on the patio of the house, looking back at that area now. The white pine is here to the right. In the center of the frame is the oak, and then the hickory is here to the left. So all three of these trees are very large. And if they were to fall, they could reach certainly into the yard, potentially damaging the fence. There's a play area there. There's a pool in the backyard, a patio, and then obviously the structure itself, the home. So those are the three trees in question. So when I spoke to the representative from Walnut Tree Service, which is also the company that would be doing the work here, they've done a site visit over the summer. And they advised that the applicant, the homeowner, contact us because there are wetland resource areas back in that area, just to kind of be safe and make sure that we're doing everything above board. So when I was out there, I did identify wetland plants, but I didn't do a formal delineation. I tried to dig some pits to check the soils, and it is very rocky throughout that whole area. There's a very sharp kind of drop off from the area that all three of these trees are kind of in to where the wetland is. There's maybe a 3 to 4 foot like drop. So it's very apparent that they aren't in the actual resource area, but they're certainly within buffer zone. So that's kind of where we are with the wetland resource areas. Following my discussion with the representative from Walnut Tree Service, his concerns were that being a rocky soil and it being a wet area back there, that the roots of these three trees aren't likely very deep, meaning that they could easily topple over with a shallow root system. So that's the main concern. Two of the trees are kind of leaning towards the property, that being the white oak all the way here to the right of the frame, and then the hickory is leaning slightly towards the property. The white oak is dramatically leaning over the property line. In my opinion, the white oak is clearly a problem and should definitely be removed. Oh, we got a hand up. Sorry, Joyce.
I think you meant white pine, right? Not white oak.
Yes, I did. So, yes, the white pine is the one that's leaning dramatically over the property line, and is just clearly, if it were to fall, it would almost certainly fall towards the property. The hickory here, all the way to the left, is slightly leaning. It's kind of has a little bit of preferential growth towards the property, meaning that if it were to fall, maybe, but it is leaning slightly towards the property. So I've also recommended that one be allowed to be removed. Finally, the tree in the middle, which is the white oak. I did not really, when I was out there, didn't observe any preferential growth in any direction. It's not really leaning in any given direction either. Now I recognize the fact that it likely has the same shallow root system as the other two trees. But in my report, I did not recommend that the commission allow that tree to be removed. And the reason that I had for that is because there are just a lot of uncertainties here, and it doesn't pose a clear threat to the property. The tree would obviously have to fall. It would have to fall towards the property to really cause any damage. And like my point to the commission is, like, you are tasked with safeguarding the interests of the Wetland Protection Act, which would be the wetland area behind this property. And we've got to kind of balance the interest of protecting that resource area and the interest of public safety and obviously development, which is mostly what we deal with here. So this is obviously up to the commission. You are all able to make this decision how you want. But my recommendation was to allow the two trees to be removed. The third tree, I'm not recommending to be removed at this time, but I am open to, if we want to dig a little bit deeper into this, we certainly can. One thing that I suggest that if we want to consider removal of the white oak is maybe get an arborist out to assess the health of the tree and to look at the root system specifically, rather than a representative from the tree removal company. So that's kind of my spiel. I'm open for any questions, or if Lauren, if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to, well, through the chair, of course, madam, to have a response.
Stuart, do you have anything else to add before we open it up to the commissioners? You have to, oops, yep.
I'm sorry, if you can hear me now, I don't do a lot of Zoom, I apologize. So no, thank you so much for hearing all of this and for, for listening. I do understand where Kyle's coming from. Just, you know, regarding the uncertainty and that, of course, the commission has a responsibility to do what's best for the wetlands. I just, you know, if you can consider allowing us to do all those 3 trees just regarding the uncertainty, of course, there's uncertainty that it's going to fall. But considering the risk, considering my home, considering my family, it's just a little hard to live with that uncertainty. And there's also a cost involved. The last thing I want to do is remove remove any vegetation that we don't have to. I purchased the property knowing that that was wetlands back there and that, you know, it would likely never be built on. I love having I have a, you know, nice open fence so I can see that. I like having that back there. So I'm not trying to ask for anything unreasonable, but just considering the cost, because it is going to be a cost incurred to my family. It's not, the Risk Takers is not covering the cost of any of this. This is something that we're covering ourselves, and have this done twice, or have it, you know, I you know, in the future, or if it does fall, and then the cost of having to take you know, take care of that and any damage to the property. You know, it just poses a bit of an anxiety and a hardship. And I know that's not what it's about, but just, you know, you know, Madam Chair, just something to consider if you would, to just kind of let this be done. But again, this is the first time I've ever done this, so I'm not sure what else, I guess, to what else to say, or how else to argue it. But anyway, I think that's all that I have left to say.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My understanding, Kyle, if you could correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is that an RDA is a request for determination of applicability, which basically is saying, is this really under the jurisdiction of the Wetlands Protection Act or not? And so if we issue a negative determination, then the applicant is free to do what they must, as long as everything, you know, you don't bring heavy equipment into the areas that are, you know, resource areas or anything. Or if you say, if there's a positive determination made, that would mean that it would be under the jurisdiction of the Wetlands Protection Act, and therefore would have to actually undergo a little bit more detailed application process. Am I incorrect about that, or?
Broadly speaking, that's correct. Now there's a lot more nuance there. The form does have multiple types of positive determinations and multiple types of negative determinations. So what we could do in this example would be, I don't have the number in front of me, but there's a certain determination that basically says the commission would be saying that yes, this work that's being proposed is in a jurisdictional area, but it won't have a negative impact on the resource area itself. Therefore, we can allow the work. And that's kind of, you know, if the commission were to approve this tree removal, that's the kind of the way that we would go. So I don't have that number in front of me currently, but I can dig for that if you're wanting to approve all 3 of these trees removed currently, or just 2. You can dictate what you want, but we can do this through an RDA. It's not always just whether this is going to be completely outside of jurisdiction, or you need to file a notice of intent. There is some room within an RDA to allow work to proceed, but then also give kind of like special conditions like we do for full notice of intent, but obviously not to that extent. So there is some wiggle room here.
I was looking on the website today, on the city website actually, for it to try to find out those details, and I couldn't seem to find it. So I'm not sure exactly where it is, but maybe we can make that available to us for future RDA discussions to have.
Yeah, certainly we can have that discussion, you know, outside of this meeting. Yep.
Sure. Commissioners, questions, comments?
I think because of all the cost incurred to take these down, and being the homeowner and having to do that, I would almost lean towards doing it in a sense that, knowing how the commission generally errs towards a lot of conservative approaches to things, I would almost say if we could have an arborist come out to determine the 3rd tree that's of question, because it would just be terrible if we said 2 and then the owner goes to all that expense and then turns around and has to do something again. That just doesn't make any logical sense to me. So I would, just knowing how the commission usually votes very much on the side of conservative, I would say that that's my personal suggestion, just to get the health of the tree from somebody that's an arborist. I think that would be smart. And then that way we're not wasting, time and energy and sometimes months at a time to get things approved, and then say there is a bad storm and something happens and it could have been avoided, especially since she has a family and everything. That's just my 2 cents.
Sounds reasonable.
I agree.
And there have been a lot of oak tree uprootings, I would say within the past few years as things are wetter. So, Mr. Wart?
Sorry, yes, that sounds good. Is it okay if I ask the tree company if they know somebody, or does it have to be a third party? Like, does it have to be a certain?
I would say an arborist separate from the tree company would be, to avoid conflict of interest.
Sure.
Yeah, so perhaps you could come back next month and let us know what that determination is, and at that time.
Okay. Sure.
Reasonable?
Okay.
Okay. So I don't believe we do we need a motion for that?
Yeah, we'll just want to continue this to the next month. And the applicant will be responsible for contacting the arborist and then providing that information to the commission.
Okay.
I don't think you need a motion to require that an arborist,
No.
give us input. Just, I think we can just continue with that understanding.
Okay. So we do need a motion.
A motion to continue, yeah.
Motion to continue, please.
I make a motion to continue 51 Parkview Lane till December 13th meeting, for an update on obtaining an arborist opinion.
I second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to continue 51 Park Lane tree removal to the December 13th meeting with a report from an arborist. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Beekler, aye.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Map I.
Boris, aye. That motion passes. We'll see you next month, Ms. Dwyer.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is an RDA for Massasoit Boulevard, number 1 Massasoit Boulevard, removal and replacement of a fuel tank system. Is anyone here for the applicant? Niche?
Yes, I've got one. I'm going to promote Bill. Oh, I think you're muted, Bill.
My apologies. Good evening, everyone.
Next, Mark.
Hi. My name is Bill Marr with Niche Engineering, and we are requesting a negative determination of applicability for a project located at Massasoit Community College, located at 1 Massasoit Boulevard in Brockton. The location of this site is at the Public Facilities Building, which is at Lot 4 on the campus. And Kyle, could you pull up any drawings?
Yeah, I can. Give me one moment. I'll get that pulled up for you. You can continue to speak as I do that.
Sure. And what we are proposing, to do on the side of the facilities building, specifically on the eastern side of the facilities building, is an existing gas pump with 2 underground tanks, concrete pad, and associated piping. And what the college is looking to do is to remove this these items. And I don't know if you could zoom in on over to the left there, Kyle, please. Okay, thank you.
How's that? Is that all right?
Yes, thank you. So, just about in the middle of the, page there, next to the, existing facilities building, the associated, gas pump, and two underground, gasoline tanks. Both tanks are located outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. The, gas pump, and concrete pad are within the 100-foot buffer zone of the, wetlands. And what we are proposing to do is to remove those items, backfill it with clean material, pave over it, and relocate the system farther away from the wetland line there. This is a grass island right now in between some parking spaces, and we're looking to convert just a portion of this for the location of above ground tanks that are double walled, have an alarm system, and so forth. For the new tanks, they will be surrounded with bollards just to protect it from any vehicles, plows, things of that nature. Just a little history on the previous discussion there about the existing tanks. Those tanks have been in that location for approximately 30 years. The tanks that were there before were removed in 1993, and approximately 30 yards of contaminated soil was found. It was reported to DEP, and a cleanup was done on the site there. So, and as I had sent Kyle some of the certificates that Massasoit has received over the past few years, there have been no instances of any releases or things of that nature. We do have monitoring wells, and they have not found any signs of contaminated water, soil, things of that nature. We do have an LSP on site, Atlas from Woburn, who will be overseeing this project.
I'm sorry, LSP? License safety,
Sorry, Joyce?
an LSP,
Yes.
licensed safety professional? Is that what does that stand for?
But it's a licensed site professional.
Professional. Okay, thank you.
They will be in charge of handling any dirty soils, things of that nature, on the site there. And if something is found, it will be reported, but all indications are right now that they have not found a single item. What we're proposing to do for some erosion controls is there are some catch basins nearby, and we're going to put some silt sacks, in them to prevent any possibility of water or material from flowing into the storm drain systems. This location is approximately at a low point, going towards the plan north of the site, towards the blue line where the wetlands are, is at a higher elevation, approximately 1.5 to 2 feet higher, all along there. So there will be no direct, discharge of any materials, into the wetlands. But we do have an erosion control barrier along the edge of the parking lot, plan north and northwest and so forth. Yes. We can. I did receive it, Kyle's letter yesterday, and we can provide some additional erosion controls, but as noted on our plans, that the contractor is required to provide additional erosion controls, on the site, and to adjust them accordingly based on his use of the site and his activities on the site. It's really hard at this point in time just to say how he's going to attack things, because most of this they want to keep up and running the existing gas pump system until this new one is online, and then remove the old system at that point.
So the new one will be put online first before the old one is removed. Is that correct?
Good, correct, because the college does use it for their vehicles and, so forth, and if that was removed first, then it would kind of create a bit of a hardship as to where they're going to get their gasoline when they don't have outside cards, things of that nature,
Of course.
to purchase like the gasoline.
Do you have an area on this plan that shows where, as you're excavating the soil for, oh no, it's gonna be an above ground installation, isn't it?
Yes,
So just a little bit of excavation for the concrete pad, is that it?
good, correct, going down about 12 inches or so, for the pad. And then we're running conduit, obviously because they are steel walled, double walled tanks. We need to run an electrical line from each tank, basically the alarm system and so forth, and to run the pump systems, back to the building, and that will be approximately 2 to 2.5 feet deep.
Mhm.
The conduit will be encased in concrete, just because it is a traveled area, parking lot and so forth, so that none of those pipes are crushed during any sort of operation on the site. We were before the commission 4 years ago for this site when we repaved the parking lot.
Mhm.
And we did request and received a negative determination for the parking lot as well, for the reconstruction of it.
Mhm.
Oh, and if I could, and I'm sorry, if I could just say one more thing, is that we are installing hoods over the existing outfall pipe from each of the catch basins in this area of the site.
Mhm.
Yeah, so the catch basins, if you don't mind me interrupting, Bill, excuse me, are marked on the map as these circles with the hash through them. So there are,
Yes.
I believe there are 7 scattered throughout the parking lot. This one here is the only one that's within the buffer zone. I'm gonna scroll down. Oh, I guess it's not on this plan. The other plan that was provided by the applicant has the specs for the hood. So what that looks like coming out, covering the outflow pipe.
Yeah, correct.
Kyle, your report, sir?
Yeah, sure. I've just got just a few questions, and Bill's already answered a few of these things. So I recognize the fact that most of this proposed work is outside of that jurisdictional 100-foot buffer zone. But I was just concerned about a few things that some of them have already been addressed. So I guess let's start with the hood, since we were just speaking over that. Bill, what's the installation of that hood look like? Is that just something that someone can open up the manhole and get down in there and install the hood, or is there going to be any excavation with the installation of these hoods?
Nope, there's no excavation. It's typically they just pull the grate off of the catch basin, and then just insert the pipe, over it. It's a plastic insert, and it just fits right over the pipe, so there is no excavation.
Okay, great, thank you. Here on this map, I believe this is an elevation here at 104.57. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is that the elevation of the parking lot in that area? Or I can't tell what that's actually pointing to. If that's pointing to this line here or what?
Yeah, there were some features that were there previously, Kyle. Previously, when we appeared before the commission 4 years ago, at that time, Massasoit had its salt shed, trailers, containers, things of that nature. And so, some of this is from, that time,
Okay, so I guess my concern was looking at the elevations throughout the rest of the parking lot. We have 105 through here, 106 all the way over here on this portion, 105 here again. The elevation here of these, I think these are the access manholes above the tanks, are 104.71. So one of my concerns was 104.57 is less than 104.71. So I was concerned about, sheet flow potentially running, if we do excavation and there is exposed soils here, and I know you had clean reports, but if there was some sort of contamination, that could potentially be an issue. I know we have erosion controls over here on this corner, but I just wasn't sure if that 104.57 was the elevation of the parking lot back there.
No, there's a ridge line. It might be 104.7 down by the tanks, but it does rise up to about 105.2 or so. And it runs south to north all the way out along the area, because you can see, some of these other grades, out there, 105, 35, 55, 60, so forth. So it's almost like a little bit of a crest of a hill there, where in this portion of the parking lot.
And then obviously one of my big concerns was if there was soil contamination here. And as Bill mentioned before, he did submit documents going back to, I think, maybe 2015 that basically show that they are in compliance with the underground storage tank program that's run through the state. I am unfamiliar with that program, so I sent an email out to the program last week. I just heard back from them yesterday, and I had a discussion with one of the representatives there, and she confirmed that the documents that were provided to the commission all looked to be good. So there were two different documents that were provided. One was a self-reported kind of monitoring check, and then there was also a third-party inspection confirmation that happens at different times, and these are kind of staggered. I think they're each are scheduled to be 3 years apart, so you'll have the self-reported inspection, and like a year and a half later you'll have the third-party inspection, and then the self-reported inspection is my understanding of how that goes. I was also confirmed to me when I was speaking to this person from the program that they have their own standards in place for the removal of these tanks that require monitoring actively when the tanks are being removed. So that was one of the concerns that I had. I didn't know that those regulations were in place, but there are regulations from the state that the applicant will have to abide by as they are removing those tanks. So those are kind of like the big concerns that I have. I guess, Bill, I've got one more question about this plan. So I'm going to scroll down here and kind of look at the. So as I kind of mentioned before, these kind of circles with the hash through them, those are the like the grates, basically drainage grates that are currently at the parking lot. These are all connected into one system. Is that correct here with these drain lines? Is that right?
Correct. And those circles that are crosshatched, Kyle and board members, those delineate the installation of erosion control devices like silt sacks, wattles, straw bales, things of that nature over those catch basins to protect any inflow or foreign inflow for that matter into the structures and eventually into the storm drain system and out to the wetlands.
So it does.
Thank you. And that was my follow-up question. So so they're all connected here underneath with this line kind of coming across, and then there's an outflow here, and that was my final question was, is that connected to a stormwater system that goes out and connects to another pipe, or I'm going to scroll up here. This blue line is the wetland line, and this vertical line here is the outflow. So I wasn't sure where that went. So that does outflow into the wetland.
Good, correct.
Okay.
Not connected to the system in the city of Brockton. I'm not sewage. I mean to the stormwater system in Brockton.
No, no. There's a channel, swale, what have you, out and back here. That's basically parallel with this, blue line.
Right,
That has been there since the college was constructed back in the late 60s, early 70s. So that,
just a retention basin?
no, but I think it goes into, a wetland area that's far to the north of this, or far to the east of this site.
Hmm.
Because I believe there's a culvert that goes underneath the roadway entrance exit from, is it Crescent Street or Center Street, into the campus.
So Kyle, are you concerned about the possibility of gasoline from that new area, from that kind of contamination, or contamination from construction?
Mostly, well, I mean, obviously, if there's a spill after the whole process is done, that's problematic. But that's also true currently before this project, occurs, right? They already have an active gas pump here that's been in place for years, as Bill has said here, and there's a drainage area right here. So, is that going to be much different if we allow this project versus how it currently is? Probably not much different. I mean, obviously, a spill is bad. There is a drainage area right next to that over here. My main concern here, though, is I wasn't sure where this catch basin system, where the outlet went, if it was connected to a larger pipe system or if that drained into the wetland. So even though that this area is outside of the jurisdictional buffer zone, there is a point source outlet that goes directly into the wetland that collects water from this entire area. So, my argument, and I'm not sure on this because I didn't know this until just now, but I'm kind of thinking that may increase the area of jurisdiction for the Conservation Commission to include a larger portion of the parking lot, because any area that drains into these catch basins ultimately gets directly deposited without any treatment into the wetland. So I'm not sure about that, but that's something that I would like to look into more. And that's kind of where I am on this project. Bill, I appreciate you coming to the meeting tonight and kind of explaining the plan to us a little bit more. You've answered some of my questions, but I still have some concerns here. I think that the big concern is soil contamination, but I think that it's already handled by the underground storage tank program, and they're going to be monitoring that. But then, just broadly speaking, I'm not convinced that this project should be getting a negative determination. Basically, and I'll read you what the negative determination states. So this is kind of what Bill is hoping that the commission votes on. Negative determination, I think, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but negative determination 3, which reads, the work described in the request is within buffer zone as described, is defined in the regulations, but will not alter an area subject to jurisdiction under the act. Therefore, said work does not require the filing of notice of intent, subject to the following conditions, if any. So this is one that allows you to put a few conditions in, and we may still be able to do that, but I'm not comfortable now giving that recommendation because I'm just looking at this kind of with the commission here. So my recommendation at this point would be that we continue this to next month, allow us all to kind of digest this a little bit. I can do a little bit more digging, and and then we can kind of go from there. That's kind of my thought.
How could we request, please, that you might do a site visit?
Yeah, I've been out there before. I can, and the commission members, you're also all welcome, at any point to go to these sites with the agent or without. But if you guys are interested in seeing this, we can also go out there together. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, could we arrange to do that perhaps one time before the next meeting?
Yes.
I
But,
have,
if I, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Peggy.
my question was, why are you moving the tanks?
I'm sorry, you cut out there a little bit, Ms. Curtis.
Why are you moving the tanks from where they are to the new place?
But it's just, it's an old system. It's not, it's 30 years old. They like to get with the times and, replace it. They find that at times it's not functional. It doesn't read the cards correctly and so forth. So they would like to have a new card system, in place, for people who are accessing these, pumps. I won't say, for, any crime or things of that nature, but, it's just, it's more of a up-to-date enhancement of their system.
Time to
And
go.
then as a follow-up, why did you choose the area that it's going to be placed in?
But that was the most, reasonable, area, considering what the facilities, in the campus, uses, on the site. We couldn't go to the other side of the building, just because we're in a wetlands buffer zone, as well, too, because it basically, crosses through the middle of the area, as on the other side as well, too. So, we chose an area, where we're trying to get it as far away from the, wetlands as possible, but also, not to have this, near where a lot of students and staff, might park their cars at, for access and, so forth, to fuel their vehicles, up for those that work on the campus.
Is there a limit to how much fuel can be actually stored on a individual site like this? Do you know?
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's more than what we're asking for, which is 1,000 gallons and 2,500 gallons, for their vehicles, and for their machinery, like their, backhoes, trucks that use diesel and, so forth.
Okay.
Which is
One
basically.
more quick question.
Sure.
Have you made any provisions for electric vehicles to be charged?
No, not for this project. We have not. Like I said, a few years ago, we did over 3 of the parking lots 4 years ago, parking lots 3, 4, and 5. And yeah, we didn't incorporate any electrical vehicle charging stations on this lot at this time.
I have a question, I think. So this is gasoline and diesel tanks, you said. So on the map, kind of towards the 100-foot buffer zone. So since it's gasoline and diesel, sometimes the place don't have to big trucks to refill here and there, right? As it empties out, I believe. Is that how that works?
I'm sorry, because
yeah. So the gallon gasoline and the proposed 1,000 and 2,500 gasoline and diesel tanks that would, I guess, be what's fueling the students and workers' cars. Those would eventually here and there have to get refilled by, trucks would have to come there to refill those tanks here and there, right?
correct.
So
correct.
I was just wondering the access that they get to, because I could see that the tanks are closer to the 100-foot buffer zone. So I was just wondering about the preventions, I guess, you would take with that, with if any spillage happens when they come to refill those tanks.
Well, the tanks are filled from the top.
Okay.
And these tanks are used for staff only. No students or staff members, will use it. It's strictly for the facilities personnel for their daily operations, on the campus. And these 2 tanks that we're proposing are farther away from the 100-foot buffer zone than what is underground right now.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion then to continue until the December 13th meeting with hopefully a visit to Massasoit in the interim period.
Make a motion to continue to the December 13th meeting, 1 Massasoit Boulevard, and for the removal and replacement of fuel tank system.
I second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Beekler, aye.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Map I.
And Voris, aye. And Kyle, if you could set up a time when we might be able to visit, that would be great.
Yeah, like, do you want to go, Joyce? The commission members, or yeah,
Commission members might want to go.
sure, yeah, we can set something up.
Thank you. Okay,
So Kyle, are you planning to arrange this so that you can be shown around as to what is going on, or do I need to make arrangements with the facilities director over there to meet with you?
I particularly,
Yeah, Bill, that certainly wouldn't hurt, I think. Sorry, Madam Chair, go ahead.
no, I just like to see that outflow that you were talking about into the wetland area. I would like to see that, and relative to where the sites are that you're proposing it come from.
Yeah, so I'll Bill, I'll email you tomorrow and we can kind of coordinate this. I'll get the commission, set a date, and then we'll kind of move forward. And we can discuss if the facilities manager needs to be present or not, as we kind of organize this.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, great, thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the next item on the agenda is number 7, notice of intent for 137 Perkins Avenue. This is a new notice of intent, is that right?
That is correct.
We have a DEP number, a butters notification. DEP number
Oh,
is,
no, okay, yes, I'm sorry. We did receive a DP file number, yes.
okay. And let's see, the applicant would be J.K. Holmgren.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Mr. Ferry.
Good evening, Madam Chair, again. Good evening, commission members. Scott Farrier from Holmgren Engineering, representing Foley Management Group, Madam Chair, on a notice of intent for a property at 137 Perkins Ave. It's a very large gray wooden building. It's the former, most Brockton people know of it as the former candy factory that's been there. As I said, it's a 4-story building, looks like an old factory, a lot of windows. Foley Management Group is a national firm that specializes in storage facilities. So they have entered under agreement with the owners of the property to convert that large factory building, modernize it, and turn it into a storage facility. The main reason we're before you folks, it's as I said, it's a big building, has a driveway that goes from Perkins to Forest Street. The main reason we're before you folks is the majority of the site, the vast majority of the site falls within the FEMA flood zone. Which even though there's no wetlands vegetation, it's a resource area for you folks to consider. And we have a little bit of construction on the property going on, just some loading docks that need ramps to get up to the loading docks. So because of those loading docks being constructed, they fall within the flood zone. It becomes work that's under your jurisdiction. So we filed the notice of intent for that work. As the first part, we've been to the Board of Appeals. We received Board of Appeals approval to convert this commercial building to a storage facility. We need your approval. Once we receive conservation approval, then we'll proceed to the planning board for site plan approval. So there's a few steps to go. But yours is the one we're at right now. We understand everything was filed. We understand that the project would typically be reviewed by Beta. So I think that's essentially where we're at this point, Madam Chair. We just, wanted to make a quick introduction, make sure everything's been submitted properly, and then we just like to be able to proceed with the whole Beta process if we
I'm
might.
glad we've had a chance to open the hearing. Do you have a map by any chance of the area?
I do.
Thank you.
I'm gonna try. Do you see that by any chance, Madam Chair?
I just see search the web.
How about now, Madam Chair?
Not yet.
My son left me about an hour ago and said, Dad, we go over this once a month. All you gotta do is click this button and it'll show right up.
Okay.
And he left and I'm clicking that button and it's showing up on my screen, but I know it's not on yours.
Yeah, I can share my screen, Scott. Which plan specifically do you want to look at? The grading and drainage overall?
I think sheet number 3 would be the best one, Kyle. And thank you for the help.
To the drainage, to the,
Yeah, it's kind of the overall site plan, Madam Chair. That's the fire truck turn, so I think it would be the one plan before that one, Kyle.
Okay, yeah, I forgot it here.
you have to stop sharing whatever you're sharing though, Mr. Faria, because
Oh, all right. Even though it's nothing, it's something. There we go. Sorry about that. All right, perfect. That's it. So sheet number C3. So that shows the property. As I said, it's a giant building. It takes up the majority of the property. I think you would say the main entrance is off of Perkins Ave, but the driveway goes all the way out to Forest Street. Currently, it's a gated property. Again, just to give it an overview, it's a storage facility. Not a lot of parking is required with these facilities, Madam Chair. Just because it's typically one person going in and dropping stuff off or picking stuff up and leaving. So there's not a lot of traffic. It's not the kind of thing where the people that have storage units visit the sites much more than 2 or 3 times a year. So it's really a low traffic use. As I said, the couple of things we're doing, the inside of the building corner, we've got a large loading dock that were proposed exactly right there. Thank you, Kyle. So if you had to drop off a refrigerator or a couch or something heavy, you could drive up to the dock, get you inside the facility. Once you're inside the facility, there's freight elevators that could take you to your floor and save you a little bit of muscle work to get whatever it is that you're moving in. The other good thing we're doing with this site, Madam Chair, in addition to kind of modernizing and dressing up an older building, right now, majority of the site is either building or paving. There are no drainage facilities at all. So under the stormwater management guidelines from both DEP and from the city of Brockton, we have to do some upgrades under the redevelopment part of those stormwater guidelines. So we've proposed some drainage infiltration systems that will handle the roof runoff, which in fact ends up being about 60% of the site. So we're making a vast improvement on the runoff and creating a good amount of groundwater recharge that currently does not exist.
Right. The area that you were just talking about, is that currently grassed, or is that, do you know if that's currently grassed?
The area in the back, no, it's paved right now, Madam Chair. Really, the only area that's grassed is the top side where I've got the plot number written and there's 5 or 6 trees bunched together. Yeah, right around there. That's really the only grass part of the whole property. The rest of it is either concrete or paved.
So Kyle, as far as compensatory storage is concerned, if it's already impervious, does that?
So yeah, there are a couple of different things. So there are kind of two elements here. So Scott mentioned that as a redevelopment of an existing site, they need to show, I think, a 40% reduction,
Correct.
or 40% improvement in infiltration. Is that correct, Scott?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So that's from the stormwater ordinance, and then from the kind of wetlands protection angle, when they build these ramps, like Scott said, the entire site's basically within floodplain. When you build these ramps, you're decreasing the flood storage of that area by adding that concrete for the ramps and the stairs and things like that. So that will require compensatory storage, and so that's also part of the plan. So Beta would be reviewing both the stormwater and the infiltration basins and the retaining areas that are part of this development.
Correct.
Has Beta already issued a scope and fee?
No, we need, since we're just opening the hearing tonight, the commission needs to request that, and then we can get Beta moving on the scope and fee.
Commissioners, any questions?
In the rendering, I see some trees outside the building. Is that proposed tree plantings?
There's I think if you can scroll further down, maybe to sheet number 7, I'll guess, Kyle. Yeah, right there. So those are our proposed trees. The larger trees, there's a few existing trees, but for the most part, all of the trees that you see on the plan are proposed trees. So we're doing I'd say a good amount of plantings around the perimeter, both for our site, but also to further buffer the existing residential properties on Auburn Street. Even though they've been looking at this big building in their backyard, it just gives us the opportunity to provide a little bit of screening as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions? Any other questions at all? No questions? Recommend that this be a motion, I guess, a motion to refer this to Beta for review.
I make a motion.
Do we need to get public comment?
Yes, we do. It is an NOI. Thank you. Sorry about that. Are there participants here that would like to speak to this issue? Sorry about that. No, I don't see anyone with their hands raised.
Yeah, I do not see anyone with their hand raised. Sorry, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ruby. Sorry about that. Okay, so I entertain a motion that notice of intent for 137 Perkins Ave be referred to Beta for review.
Make a motion to refer 137 Perkins Ave to Beta for review.
I second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Equal eye.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Map I.
Forrest, aye. And that motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. See you soon. Okay, refer to Beta. Let's see. The
Do we
next-
need to continue this?
Oh, of course. Motion to continue?
Make a motion to continue 137 Perkins Ave till December 13th meeting.
Will Beta have
I
time?
second.
Do you think Beta will actually have it reviewed by December 13th? If not, it will be continued at that point.
Yeah, I think it's probably safe to do it, just in case we get lucky, Madam Chair. If I was gonna bet, I would say, I would say no, we're probably gonna ask for a continuance, but
Thank you.
it's a season of miracles, who knows?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead with the motion, please.
Make a motion to continue 137 Perkins Ave till December 13th meeting.
I second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Equal eye.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Kathleen, I.
Nap I.
Voris, aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Let's see. "940 Belmont Street," you said that has been withdrawn for now, and it's going to be involved with the NOI through the VA at another
That
time.
is correct.
Number 9 will not be heard at this point. So the next item on the agenda would be number 10, certificate of compliance for 195 Liberty Street, a freestanding sign.
Yes, that's correct. So I spoke with the representative, his name is Bill Self, earlier this morning. In my agent report, I basically outlined that I do not think that the project is in compliance with the order of conditions, and I do not recommend that the commission issue a certificate of compliance. The reason being, there was an area around the sign installation that was supposed to be seeded and stabilized. It's immediately next to like a ditch that has open water. It hasn't been stabilized sufficiently. Bill agrees with me after he's seen my report. He's not here tonight. I spoke to him this morning. I told him that he didn't need to be here. He agrees that he needs to go back out and do some additional work there. He's talked to the owner and told them that they need to reseed. So in my recommendation, I recommended that the commission deny this certificate of compliance request, and then with the understanding that the applicant will make the changes necessary and reapply with a new certificate of compliance request in the future when all of those things are met.
Commissioners, do you feel like you need to see pictures or photos or anything, or you okay with Kyle's review?
Yeah, I reviewed what was on the file. I'm fine.
Okay, good. Okay. So I entertain a motion then to deny the request for a certificate of compliance for 195 Liberty Street.
I make a motion to deny the certificate of compliance for 195 Liberty Street.
I second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded that this request for certificate of compliance will be denied until the aforementioned points are addressed, right?
Yeah.
The motion has been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Equal eye.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
And I.
Nap I.
Voris, aye. Okay, thank you. And Kyle, you'll notify the applicant, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll send the letter. Yep.
Okay, and then the next five filings are continued. The rest, let me see, the first one is the next violation discussion is 1003 Crescent Street.
Yes, that is correct.
Correct.
Mr. Porter is in the attendees. I'm going to go ahead and promote him. I know Scott's here also to speak to this tonight.
Correct.
I guess I can begin here, Scott, and I'll let you take over here in a moment. This is outlined in my notice that I sent out, like the violation notice to Mr. Porter. Basically, around the beginning of October, I received a few different calls from different departments, different people, kind of reporting that there were dump trucks full of fill that were being delivered to the site at 1003 Crescent Street. There are wetlands behind some of these properties back in this area. The trucks were going off the road quite a ways and dumping, but you couldn't really tell where. So I went out to the site initially and kind of asked them to stop until we could figure out exactly what was going on. I spoke to, I believe it was Mr. Porter, and we kind of, he assured me that, they were outside the buffer zone. We ended up going to the site later that day or the following day. It's been a month or so now, so I'm not quite sure, but we went out on site. They stopped all work, putting more fill back there. When we were on site together, we identified wet areas. I didn't do an actual delineation at the time, but we looked at areas that could be jurisdictional. We measured out the 100-foot buffer zone that is jurisdictional, assuming those are wetland resource areas, and we added like another 20 feet onto that, and we put flags. Basically, I advised them to do no more work within that tentatively flagged area until they could hire someone to come out and do a formal delineation, and then at that point we could kind of assess where we are with everything. If there were any infractions, then we could address any remediation that needed to happen then after that delineation was done. As of today, Mr. Faria sent a wetland delineation done by ECR and Brad Holmes, I believe it was Brad, today. So we just received that. I did upload that to the file, but I'm going to let Scott take over now. But that's kind of where we were. We just issued the notice of violation. The reason, sorry, going to backtrack a little bit. The reason I didn't issue an enforcement order initially was because I wasn't quite sure where the wetland resource areas were. And I wasn't sure the extent of the violation. So we went with the violation notice initially. I requested that they do this formal delineation, so then we could kind of reassess after that point to kind of see what the next steps would be. And then Madam Chair, Scott, I believe has more to add at this point. Through you, please.
Sure. Thank you, Kyle. Madam Chair, Commission members, again, Scott Faria from Holmgren Engineering. Mr. Porter and his partner, Mr. O'Brien, contacted me shortly after receiving your violation notice, and we took a look at the notice, looked at the Mass GIS maps, other things, and we decided that the best course of action to satisfy ourselves and the commission would be to have the property delineated. We contacted and contracted Brad Holmes from ECR, and we just received the report. I believe it was last week. So it's, as you know, Madam Chair, everybody's busy. Everything takes 3 or 4 weeks to get any kind of action on it. So Brad went out there and flagged it. We submitted via email, as Kyle said this morning, his report and his sketch that shows the wetland areas. Now, the wetland areas, I believe there's 4 separate areas. One of them is in the very, very far back left-hand corner of the property. That is a BVW, a bordering vegetative wetland, that just barely encroaches onto our property. The other 3 areas, what we would call isolated wetland areas that don't appear to be jurisdictional. They're definitely not bordering. The only thing they could possibly be would be an isolated land subject to flooding. But that's based typically on topography and engineering calcs, which we just haven't done yet. But in any event, those areas all fall outside of the property. Obviously, there would still be buffer zones that encroach on our property. So the applicants at this point are hoping to develop the property, to be frank with you. They're hoping they can turn it into some type of residential development. At this point, we honestly haven't done a thing, so I can't tell you if it's going to be 1 lot or 21 lots. It's not a big piece of property, so it's a small development that potentially could happen out there. So what we spoke about.
Scott, do you mind if I screen share the wetland map?
Better you than I, Kyle.
Okay, great.
So what we spoke about, Madam Chair, was at least at this point coming tonight. Yeah, so that's it there. So the A1 through A8 in the very lower right-hand corner, as you're looking at it here, that's the BVW. The other areas are isolated wetland areas.
Exactly, it's property, the property that you're speaking of, but what's the actual property boundary? Is it that?
Right, it's right there. The skinny rectangles are 2 paper streets that are on our property. And then we have the house in the front at 1003 Crescent and the long rectangle behind it. So as I said, though, you can see those wetland areas, at least according to Brad's flagging, and it's not a surveyed location, but they're usually fairly accurate. They fall almost entirely off the property. Obviously, we would still have buffer zone buffer zone impacts. So what we spoke about this morning with Mr. Porter and Mr. O'Brien was, at least in addition to the flags that Kyle set, with the property owners back a month ago or so, was to look at Brad's flags now, pace out that 100 feet that we're talking about, in any work that they've done that falls in that buffer zone, to surround it with a silt sock to at least stabilize it. The agreement is that they certainly won't do any more work in that area right now, but at least if we put the silt sock in, that'll take care of any potential erosion impacts, and that'll give us a chance to get moving with some development plans. And we were hoping, once we get those plans ready to submit to you, any kind of, to be honest with you, any kind of enhancements or any work in the buffer zone, more than likely we would file for that work as part of our notice of intent. So any kind of buffer zone enhancements that needed to be done would kind of be lumped in at that point with the notice of intent, with your permission, obviously, Madam Chair. So that's what we're hoping to do. As I said, right now, put up some silt sock around any disturbed areas that are close to your buffer zone, and just let things kind of settle down until we can get some plans before you and the other city departments that would need to review anything.
Okay. It was wonderful that you took such rapid action, truly.
Thank you. They're certainly not looking for any trouble. They felt like there was that wetland way in the back, to be honest with you, Madam Chair, but didn't think there was any other areas towards the front of the property. So didn't think they were doing anything wrong or getting in any kind of trouble. So just hoping to resolve that and be able to move forward, with the city's help, Madam Chair.
Mr. Holden, do you have any questions or comments or suggestions or?
No, I think that, as Scott kind of outlined, without having this delineated kind of more formally, it's kind of hard to tell, what the next actions should be. But if they are planning on developing this, which seems to be the case, I think that any sort of remediation that would be required can be handled at that time. And I think that, as Scott mentioned, if they put erosion controls around all the disturbed areas there now, that will likely hold us over until we get to that point where the notices of intent is filed. And through that process, the commission can have input as to what you want to require, if anything, to address any disturbances within that buffer zone area that wouldn't already be covered with the development as part of a new lot, for example. So I think that I'm content with that as a kind of a middle ground here. I would hate to have them do all this extra work to remove all any of this fill they've kind of added back there, just to turn around in 6 months and have them start developing that lot. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So that's kind of my thought. I think the solution that Scott's put forward seems pretty reasonable to me.
Where on this particular lot were the it looked like someone had actually put roads in?
So yeah, I can kind of speak to that here. So this is the access area that they came in. They basically drove in on this paper road. So it's not paved, but and this is kind of where the main access was. They did some fill in the back of the lot here, but most of it was kind of dumped, kind of back in this area. So, but again, without knowing where those lines were, it was hard to say where the violations actually had occurred. So I think that, we can kind of bundle all of this together with the notice of intent, if that's, amenable to the commission.
Commissioners?
I clarify. So if I don't know what happens with enforcement, but if they get to the point where they can go through with the notice of intent, we would also get with the plan site with the proper delineation of these wetlands, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, just because the map here doesn't completely match the report, so that site map, if they move forward to the NOI, okay.
Certainly.
Okay. Well, thank you.
On this map, are there two paper roads, one on each side of the property?
Yes, that's
that what I'm
correct. There
understanding?
are two paper streets. There's kind of a series of paper streets up and down Crescent Street. This is way down near the Whitman Town line. Yeah, there's a whole series of paper streets that go off of Crescent Street. So those are two of them that have not been constructed.
Thank
Do
you.
they plan on paving both of those if they put in residents for accessibility or for developing the land?
I know you've heard this already tonight, and I don't want to mislead you in any way, but certainly that would be just looking at it, and we honestly, just really started on it today. As you're looking at the screen right now, that roadway to the right, we wouldn't be able to build that because of those wetland areas that are right on top of it. So if there is going to be any development, which we're pretty sure we can get something going, it would be the roadway as you're looking at the screen to the left. Yeah, exactly. That would be the road. They would have to pave it. There's planning board rules and regs. They would have to construct a cul-de-sac for turnaround and emergency vehicles and school buses, and obviously drainage that you folks would review, and a whole bunch of stuff. But more than likely it would come in, it would be reconstructing that paper street.
Do you know what the lot size is, Mr. Faria?
I don't, to be honest with you, Madam Chair.
No idea by looking at it, but okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Questions at all? I think this is informational only, correct? If it's since it's just a violation notification, we don't have to take any action or anything.
That's correct. I guess the one thing that I would recommend is, Scott, once the erosion controls are in place, if you wouldn't mind notifying me, that way I can go out there and kind of confirm that. And then at that point, I'm kind of content with letting things kind of lie until we get that notice of intent, subject to the commission's approval.
Without an enforcement order.
Without moving forward with an enforcement order or requiring any immediate action, pending this development project that's likely incoming.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Ferry.
Thank you, folks. Appreciate your time tonight and your patience. Have a good night. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So there are two enforcement orders that we only have left to finish. The first one is at 803 Crescent Street.
Yes, and I spoke to the property owner, Mr. Bruno Silva, today concerning this, and I will pull up a map in one moment here.
Okay. I kind of like the little banana.
Yeah, right. All right, stop sharing that. All right, I'm going to share my screen here. This is an older enforcement order. This is for 803 Crescent Street. I think the order was issued initially by Agent Shave maybe about a year ago, December, I think, of 2022 was the initial enforcement order, or shortly thereafter. There had just been a recent ownership change of this property. It's a kind of a repair garage on Crescent Street. The new owner, well, I guess before the new owner took ownership of this property, the previous owner had extended the pavement of the parking area around the garage, and that's without approval from the commission. That's kind of why the initial enforcement order was issued. You can see here, there's Beaver Brook back here. The center of the stream is this teal line. The edge of bank is let's see, I think that's the green line here. So anyway, it's within basically the whole site's within floodplain, and then it's also within riverfront area. So it's jurisdictional under the Concom. And we issued the enforcement order. We've been out to the site a couple times. Joyce went out with me and Elise Tripp of Beta, probably in May or April, and talked to Mr. Silva about next steps, because he's wanting to work with the commission to solve this problem. Currently, we've required that he work with an engineer to develop some sort of remediation plan. What we see before us tonight is just an existing conditions plan. So he's working with Holmgren Engineering here, and they put together this plan for him. And what I've asked them to do is delineate the buffer zones, basically the whole site, more or less up until this red line buffer zone, the 100-foot buffer zone is basically within floodplain 2. But this is just the existing conditions plan. The added concrete that was the reason for the enforcement order is this kind of grayed out area here and this grayed out area here. This hashed building is the existing building. So what I put this on the agenda tonight for the commission. Mr. Silva couldn't be here. Let me just make sure he's not here. Yeah, we have no more attendees. So he wasn't sure if he was going to be able to make the meeting tonight. So I was going to convey our discussion to him over the phone tomorrow. So my goal kind of tonight is just to get some guidance to give to Mr. Silva about what the commission expects him to do to kind of remediate this issue. So I can kind of outline the resource concerns for us tonight, and then we can kind of have that discussion. So part of the problem is that they've impacted the floodplain, the flood zone, by adding this concrete area. They've added fill to the flood zone. So what we would normally require is that there would be some sort of compensatory storage added to this site to kind of offset that fill, that concrete that was added into the flood zone. So that's one aspect of this. Another is, and I'll have to confirm this, but I believe that the new pavement addition does not slope towards the road, but it actually slopes back towards the resource area. So there are concerns there about contamination from any sort of fuel leaks or other fluids. These are kind of cars that need maintenance or need to be repaired. So there is always that potential that things are running off onto this pavement and then into this resource area. A couple suggestions or ideas that I've kind of had, and again, we would convey this information to the applicant, and then he would work with the engineers to develop something to kind of meet our expectations as the commission. One option is we can require them to remove all the added concrete, just restore things to how they were initially. That's an option. Another option is to maybe do some engineering on the site to kind of offset the flood zone impacts, and then maybe do something to work with any sort of to deal with that contamination issue that may also be occurring here. So you can see here on the map this existing gravel area that's between basically the edge of pavement and this kind of squiggly line here is the tree line. So there's quite a bit of area here that could be kind of not redeveloped, but maybe turned back into a green space. So this might be area that they could do some sort of like a retention area to offset the added addition of the concrete or the paved area. You could do some sort of planting in there as well. Joyce has a question. Go ahead, Joyce.
That's what that looks. If the orange line is the 50, that looks like that area would be within 25. No. That area, that existing gravel area might be pretty close to the 25.
Oh yeah, it's almost certainly within the 25-foot buffer zone, this gravel area. Yes. And then probably they don't have it marked on here, the 25 foot buffer zone, but that likely would clip off a portion of this part of the pavement as well, So that's something we can have them look at that. But generally, we just kind of need to give them some guidance, what the commission expects them to do. I'm not sure how adding concrete upon concrete works. Like one thing that we could do is ask them to change the grade of the new concrete, so to make sure that it slopes towards the existing parking lot and into the sewer system, rather than sloping it towards the resource area. But I'm not sure if that's something they can do without completely redoing the pavement, if that makes sense. I just don't know if you can add new pavement on old pavement and have it be something that's going to last very long, or if that's just going to be a patch that's going to flake off and chip off over the next 5 years. So we don't necessarily want that either. So, I'm kind of thinking that maybe we can do some sort of compensatory storage where this existing gravel is, and then maybe make that, pull all the gravel out, kind of do some remediation to this area, add the compensatory storage there if it's possible, and then make that, plant it, so it's not gravel. And that might, if we plant this with and have it established with, grass or whatever mix we decide on, that can help treat any sort of runoff that does end up coming, sheet flowing off of this portion of the parking lot before it gets to the Beaver Brook back here. That's kind of my thought. But before we move forward, and I just gave my recommendations to Mr. Silva, I wanted to kind of get the input of the commission to see what we're thinking generally as far as recommendations.
What is the gravel area for? Is that for snow removal?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, and that's, the gravel area is obviously also within jurisdiction. I'm not sure when that gravel was added. I don't think, he doesn't really park things there. As far as I know, it's just kind of a dead use space. It's not used for anything as far as I'm aware of.
And it does lead out to the road. So, but you can bring equipment into the 25-foot buffer and actually put in
Oh,
compensatory.
certainly. Yeah. You can do work all the way up to the bank, and as long as we use the right safeguards. So the commission can, the 25-foot like no touch zone that's not in the regulations. That's just kind of a thing that most commissions don't allow any work to be done within that area. Doesn't mean you can't do work in that area. And especially if you're doing like remediation work, we're trying to improve this, make it more natural. We're removing this gravel. Even if you're excavating, Joyce, if it's to deal with the floodplain, I think that also can be permittable. I can certainly look into that more, but I'm pretty sure that we can approve work even within that 25-foot buffer zone if we think it's a reasonable thing to suggest.
And would compensatory storage be something like a big rain garden is that what you're thinking, or?
You kind of broke up there. What did you say?
Thinking of a rain garden kind of thing, or?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. You can do infiltration basins, but that's going to be a lot more engineering work, and likely that would be underneath the existing paved area probably. But you can kind of do the same thing if you have the space for it. And I don't know if this is even possible because, between the bank, you'd have to do calculations to see how much fill's been added with the concrete, and then like how much area you need to excavate to make up for that added area, right? And if that's going to fit into this area with the appropriate grade, so you're not just like having a 60% slope that goes down. I don't know if it's possible, but that's kind of what I would look to have them explore and see if that's something they can develop. And yeah, some sort of rain garden thing where it's an excavated area, it's all green, it's got plants in there, not just grass. You can have other things in there, but that would help with the compensatory storage, and then also that would maybe treat any sort of runoff that happens to come off of that sloped asphalt before it goes into the brook. That's kind of my thought. I just don't know if you can add and change the grade of that concrete without ripping the whole thing out.
I have no idea.
So I mean, I just need some guidance. I can have this discussion with Mr. Silva, and this is Mr. Faria is putting this plan together for him, so I can have this discussion with him as well, and we can kind of work something out. But I just wanted some guidance from the commission as far as what we would like to see as the commission to kind of rectify this situation, because normally we probably wouldn't permit this, but it's already here, so we can just have them remove it, or we can maybe work with the applicant, because he didn't do this work. He bought this without knowing that this was an issue. He kind of inherited this mess. So I'm kind of the mind, if we're able to work with him, that we should. But again, this is all up to the discretion of the commission.
Kyle, were you able to determine if that actually was required for the sale, the installation of those additional parking spots?
No, I can follow up with I'm talking to him tomorrow. I'll give him a call, and I can dig some more into that. Do you care about maybe explaining that a little bit more for the rest of the commission, Joyce?
Or when we were there and we were speaking, Mr. Silva or De Silva, Silva, right?
Yeah, just the S, Silva.
He had just recently bought the property, seriously, within a couple of months, and all of this stuff came crashing in on him. And he moved in from Dorchester and was all excited to start it's like a auto repair shop, and also something to be able to sell used automobiles. And my understanding was the licensing board, in order for him to actually be able to sell, the licensing board required that he have additional parking spots. And so the owner, before he sold, was the one that actually installed that additional impervious surface. So when he bought the property, it sounded like it was almost a requirement that be installed for the sale. But then when he actually came through and got the sale, lo and behold, he gets an enforcement order because of that additional impervious surface and how it's impacting that whole resource area. So it's just this catch-22, and he seriously is just trying to establish a business in the city. Slow business at first, certainly, because part of it was COVID related, and no secondhand cars available to be sold. So it was just like, he really wasn't making a whole ton of money at the time. I mean, hopefully business has picked up for him since then. I don't know. But to have the cost that would be that could potentially come forward as a result of extensive drainage and all of that kind of stuff, it's pretty daunting for him, which I totally understand. It seems like so much is outside of his control. So where if this was just a straight up normal, someone that's out of compliance, just, doesn't care and just, I can understand really trying to enforce the enforcement order maybe more rigorously. But I feel like he does deserve as much help as we can give him. Any ideas that anyone has, I think would be greatly appreciated.
I agree, Joyce. I remember the previous owner of this property and how disastrous this whole thing was. So if we have someone who's willing to do whatever's required to get their business going, I do think, like you just said, we should probably do whatever we can to help him. So I think, Kyle, if you and Scott can have the conversation of some type of recommendations to guide him and get him where, things are comfortable for him to continue to proceed further, I think would be in the best interest of him as well as everything that's been going on with this property.
Okay, so so I'll work with the engineering firm here, and maybe are we looking at trying to develop some sort of like compensatory storage rain garden thing here on site if possible? Is that kind of what we're gonna kind of push for?
Yeah, so any way that you can drain the stuff towards the cities,
Yeah, I mean, we'll look into that too. And we could even, like, if adding that concrete layer does not work, there could be some sort of routing we could do. I'll see what we can do. But yeah, I'll work with Scott about developing some sort of rain garden retention, compensatory storage kind of thing. That's better probably than doing an infiltration system, because that's gonna be a lot more expensive and it's going to require repaving of the lot. So if we can do something, and I think if we can improve that existing gravel area, because right now it's kind of a dead space, nothing's growing there, I think that'll be kind of a net boon for the area anyway. So that's kind of my thought. So if the commission's okay with that, I will make that recommendation to Mr. Silva, and I'll work with JK Holmgren Engineering to kind of develop a plan that we can then bring before the commission for approval. Does that sound reasonable?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
The scallop edges, it says tree line, is that existing trees or proposed? Like
No,
right
that's
underneath?
kind of existing wooded area back here, yeah.
Well, bushes.
Okay.
And he has done a lot, like just cleaning up trash in there and all of that, but the river is right there. The brook is right there, What
I
about that?
think, if we could put in something like a French drain, so for any, fluids from cars, if he's selling cars, repairing cars, and have it, empty out into the sewage system, the public sewage system, I think that would,
Into the storm drain? I mean,
yes, storm drain.
some filters there, wouldn't he? To be able to. Would he have some kind of
I don't
filter?
know, like, that's something we'll have to look into. I'm not sure what the regulations for that, but that's something we can certainly look into. Maybe if we lined, put it like a French drain or something, even if it was just, riprap or something, and had it with some sort of tile underneath that would direct flow from that new addition, like towards somewhere where it's just not going directly into the brook. Yeah, okay.
Oy.
All right, well, thank you. I appreciate your input, everyone. I will convey all of this to the applicant and the engineering firm, and we can move forward from there. And hopefully we'll get a plan to you, in the next couple months.
And Herman Street?
Yeah, and this is the last one. I'm going to stop sharing here. I don't think there's anyone here to speak to this. This is an ongoing problematic property that's been issued multiple enforcement orders from the commission over the years. I've been requested to issue a fresh enforcement order. I did, in that enforcement order, ask that the property owner be at the meeting tonight. They are obviously not here. So I guess at this point, I can review some photos, but basically what they've done, the property owner owns a construction company. They are bringing material from their construction jobs back to the property in question, kind of dumping that waste material into their backyard, and they're kind of bulldozing this waste material over their property line into a parcel that's owned by the city, and there's a brook that runs through there that's jurisdictional. And so they're just basically adding fill and trash and debris into this protected area. And that's basically what the enforcement order is for. I went to the site with a few members of the health department. They cited this individual the same day that I issued this enforcement order for various other health code violations. But our big concern is all this fill that's being added to this lot over this property line. So there are a couple issues. It's the property line issue, then there's the resource issue with the brook that runs through there, and there's all the trash and debris that's being added. So because they're not here to speak to us tonight or to talk about how they're willing to address this issue with the commission, at this point, I think we just ratify the enforcement order. And I think the next step is that because this is an ongoing issue, the Brockton Law Department is looking to make a case.
And you're sure that he received the enforcement order?
Yeah, I think I got the green slip.
And do you know if it's an issue of language understanding?
It is not, to my knowledge. I can confirm that with the health inspectors. I've never met this individual, but they've been interacting with him for a while, so I don't think there's a language barrier.
Motion then to ratify the enforcement order for 34 Herman Street.
Motion to ratify the enforcement order for 34 Herman Street.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to ratify the enforcement order. Roll call vote, please.
Before I.
Clay, I.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Nap eye.
And Boris, aye. Thank you, Kyle.
All right, thank you all, and that is it.
Yeah, so I entertain a motion to end this.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, anyone?
Second.
We all say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Bye.
Clay,
Thank you,
I.
everyone. Have a great night. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.